and welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Maddie Grace Wevin.
And I'm Trish.
And welcome to the second episode on the second part of the second Persona game. But, oh, god damn it, my computer's doing something.
Uh-oh.
Hopefully it doesn't. Okay. No. Okay. Okay, we're good. We're all good. How was everyone's week?
Mixed bag, I would say. So I talked about last time, I was recording from my girlfriend's place in Canada. That visit was absolutely amazing and wonderful, and I am no longer there. I'm back home, and I don't even like using the word home because this place just doesn't really feel like a home in comparison. Also, I found out I initially requested 9 days off for that vacation, and my manager talked to me, or rather the owner of the company talked me down to 2 days, or by 2 days to 7 days instead. I go to work last night only to find out, oh, no, yeah, you got the full 9 days. We just never told you.
Oh my gosh. That's
and so I could have had 2 more days, and I'm really annoyed.
Aww. Well, the trip was great, though.
The trip was great. Also, my girlfriend let me borrow Fire Emblem 3 Houses, which I've never played.
Oh, man.
I loved Awakening, and I loved Fate, even though Fate is kind of trashy. And so I've been playing 3 Houses. I've already sunk almost 20 hours into it in like the last 2 days. It's really good. It's probably my favorite Fire Emblem, which isn't surprising. I'm a big fan of hey, let's do a high school AU of something, and this is basically Fire Emblem High School AU. Also, it's just really gay. Like, wow, it feels like they just heard the fans for a while, like how many Fire Emblem fans are gay and wanted more gay content, and went, here's all of it.
Which house did you choose? There is a correct answer.
Black Eagles is the name, I think, yeah. Well, I'm
not
romancing
the correct answer, but I respect it.
I'm romancing the Empress. What do you want from me?
The correct house is Golden Deers.
Okay, here's the thing. Ideologically, I agree with you 100%.
At least you didn't pick the Blue Lions.
Why would I ever pick the Blue Lions?
Narc House.
Narc House.
I
exactly.
Picked Blue Lions. I'm just kidding. I've never played a Fire Emblem game in my life.
I would have chosen that one, especially because Claude, I think his name is, who leads the Golden Deer, is an absolute smoke show.
Yes.
But Edelgard, you can only romance her if you're doing that route, and I want to romance her because I was initially like gonna 100% go for Dorothea first because super cute, 100% my type kind of girl, and then it's like I heard Edelgard speak in game and I went, oh, never mind. You're first.
Nice.
But yeah, been loving that. I guess the only thing I think I'd say regarding my week is financial stuff was kind of shaky, and then it got smoothed over, and I feel better.
Good. I am the opposite. I have just now started to engage in some shaky financials. I'm fine for as I've said before, the last year or so has been the most financial stability I've ever had. But lately it's been a little bit less than that. But yeah, there's just been some annoying bullshit. My job keeps not paying me properly, which is very frustrating. And the first time they did it, I took, because of ADHD and stuff, I took too long to really take any action on it and missed the basically statute of limitations window of having the union deal with it.
That is a mood.
Which is admittedly on me, I should have taken care of it, but bullshit, right? This time around though, they did it again. What's happening is that I am now every Saturday driving the big UPS truck, which is awesome. I love it. I've done it 3 times now, other than back when I did it earlier this year. But I've done it 3 Saturdays now. I'll be doing it again this Saturday. But 2 out of the 3 times they didn't pay me. And I'm sure it's not on purpose. They're not trying to stiff me. Don't get me wrong. fuck UPS and Carol Tomei. She's a terrible woman, and they're a company that's terrible to their workers. But like, you know, just blatant wage theft like that is a bit much even for them, especially for a company that big, right? But it's just because like it's a different job. Like normally, you know, 4 days of the week I do one job which has one manager and one set of like I'm sure a person doing payroll, and then on Saturday I do a different job with a different group of people in charge of making sure I get paid, right? So I'm sure it's just an annoying miscommunication, but it's definitely annoying. So I got to deal with that, and like I'll get paid eventually. Yeah, I informed them of that not getting paid, and then if they don't fix it in like 3 days, I can file a union grievance, and then every week they don't fix it, I can file another grievance about how they still haven't done it. So I can get lots of penalty money for it, but I'd rather not have to do that. I'd rather just get paid.
It's a lot of hassle.
It's a lot of hassle, even though like technically that's more money in the end. There's other stuff too. It's just frustrating nonsense, basically. On the other hand, I really enjoy driving the big truck. That is really cool. Oh yeah, also one of the weeks, the person who was in charge of me driving didn't tell it. If I want to drive the truck on Saturday, I have to not work Friday night because you can't really work a night shift until 4 a.m. and then wake up and drive a car at 9 a.m. That's not only is it unsafe, it's also illegal because of OSHA. No, not OSHA. Department of Transportation laws involving like commercial vehicle driving. So if I'm working Saturday, I get Friday night off. And the person who is the manager calls the Friday night shift manager and says, hey, Maddie Grace isn't going to be there, right? However, one of the weeks, they didn't do that. They didn't tell them. So it was a no-call, no-show. And which means they're annoyed with me, and also means I don't get my weekly attendance bonus, which is... I won't get into the whole attendance bonus thing, but basically UPS, Trish, before you got here, earlier this year, UPS cut our pay by a huge amount, but then they said, oh, but really, we didn't really cut your pay because now you get an attendance bonus if you go to work every day. And it's, it's bullshit, but it is at least, it somewhat does make up for the pay cut, not completely, but somewhat. But if you don't get it, because you got a no-call, no-show because someone didn't do their job right and inform people of where you were, that's a big problem. So, yeah, just annoying, working jobs, paying rent, America, it's hard, folks.
Working jobs sucks.
Other than that, life is perfect and beautiful.
Cool.
Except for the other thing that I was finding out before we recorded, but I'm not going to tell you all about that.
Okay. So many times in my life, I have started to learn Japanese, and earlier this week was another time I started to learn Japanese. Mm-hmm. And I figure if I have enough false starts, eventually one of them won't be false, and I'll just keep going. So trying it a little differently each time, and also I feel sort of more confident about this because I didn't start it in a place of like manic excitement about the idea of learning Japanese. I just sort of like coldly calculated that I need to learn Japanese in order to do what I want to do with my life. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not excited about it. I'm not feeling it right now, but I'll do it.
Neat.
So for the past 4 days, I think, I've been studying Japanese, and I'm enjoying it. And we'll see if it pans out this time.
As far as things involving that kind of thing, that reminds me of 2 more things that I can share that will be nice and positive. Because the whole like, oh, I'm finally doing this thing I've been meaning to do, right? A personal growth, all that shit. I baked something for the first time in ages, so I'm technically back on my bullshit via baking. Also, first time I've ever baked with yeast. Now, don't get me wrong, yeast is a very common thing in baking. It's not that complicated. But to me, it's scary.
Oh, it's absolutely scary.
It's scary. It's like they're living creatures, and they may or may not be alive, and you have to do weird things with it, and they're very sensitive to things like air pressure and heat and like...
And salt. You gotta be careful with your salt.
Oh, so anyway, point is, I was very nervous about it. I was making a sweet, delicious dessert treat that involves brioche, which is fucking
Ooh.
great. I love brioche; it's a great bread. So yeah. Anyway, it turned out mostly great. It didn't rise as much as it was supposed to, which means I did either the first or second rise wrong, or whenever bread doesn't work right, there's a million reasons why it could have not worked right. But it did rise some, and it tasted really good. And the rest of the dish, which I won't go into what it was, but it was delicious. So hell yeah. And also, I'm finally back on my bullshit with the reading of books. I had a goal to read 18 books this year, and I was way ahead of schedule until life got really hard, and then I got way behind schedule. So I'm back on schedule, and I start every morning with about an hour or so of reading while I drink coffee and wake up and stuff. And folks, reading is good. Fiction books, science fiction books, mayhaps. Non-fiction books of various kinds about history. All kinds of books are great.
Books
I've been reading Mistborn lately. Near the end of the second book. Mistborn is a fantasy series by Brandon Sanderson, part of the larger Cosmere.
Brandon Sanderson, yeah.
Yeah, I started with the...
Are there fantasy books that aren't by that guy?
I believe so, but...
Between Trish and Sam...
I started with Stormlight Archive, which is not what you're supposed to do, and the fact that that's not what you're supposed to do has reinforced my obstinance to make sure I read in the most backwards proper order I possibly can.
I respect that so much.
People can't tell me how to experience my media unless they want me to do the exact opposite.
I'm reading a science fiction book that I'll maybe tell y'all more about once I'm done reading it, but it's very good. It's Love in the Ruins, which is a book that's been on my bookshelf for ages, and I've never gotten more than like 100 pages into it, and now I'm over 200 pages into it, and I'm going to finish it. It's great. Maybe a little bit too relevant for these times.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, and secondly, I'm making my way through my Mark's reader, which has all kinds of deeper cuts that I've never read before, including something called The Grundriss, which was some weird random thing that he wrote and never published that got discovered in like 1930s. It's great. Really, really good. Big fan. Shout outs to The Grundriss, written in like 1858 or something by our boy Carl. Good job, Carl. I'm not done with it yet, though. I'm like halfway through.
What if it turns out the second half sucks?
Well, maybe that's why I never published it.
I've got some books that I want to read in Japanese if I learn enough Japanese.
Hell yeah, love it.
That's very cool. I'm currently learning German again, which is my equivalent of your thing with Japanese. I've started and stopped so many times. Unfortunately, I don't know how many books there are that I want to read in German in the way that I'd want to read stuff in Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can think of one guy.
Cool. Oh yeah, you mean Karl Marx?
Yeah, I can think of one guy at least. 2 guys, actually. Actually 3.
Well, Kafka's German too, huh?
And Kautsky is who I was thinking of for the third guy. But yeah, also Kafka, sure. Anyway, books are good.
Anyway, what is not a book, but is maybe good, is the game we played.
Yes, I enjoyed this week.
I did too.
All right, let's talk about it. So, the gang heads to the detective agency and meets Todoroki and Tamaki, or Tammy, as she's called here, because she appeared in the first game. The UI introduces Todoroki as Chief Todoroki. He used to be a flunky, but he all of a sudden got smart. Now he works as a devil summoner. I read this because I think it's funny.
No, it's an incredible line. That was one of the ones I was going to have to share. Used to be a flunky, but he all of a sudden got smart.
It's
I wish I could all of a sudden get smart.
it's one of those things of sometimes a bad translation gives you gold, gives you just true art.
Yes. Anyway, Todoroki says they've never spread rumors before, but a guy came in asking if they'd spread the anti-Joker rumor. The guy matches the description of Maya's deja vu boy. When the gang explains that rumors might be coming true, Todoroki is strangely chill about the idea. He offers to spread the anti-Joker rumor to test whether this is happening. Tamaki says Deja Vu Boy seems to be looking for the source of the rumors, and that she knows a good webpage for rumors. She brings up the webpage on the office computer. The page is run by someone named Balfu, who's a friend of Todoroki. She opens a chat with him. He takes an interest in Maya when he hears she escaped an encounter with Joker. He asks her to meet him at Double Slash, or in this game it's localized as 2x slash, which is not as good. Anyway, we might remember it's an internet cafe we visited in the first game.
Actually, the X isn't pronounced. It's 2 slash.
It's 2 cross slash.
I feel like that was a Hunter x Hunter joke.
It was. Well, mine was, and then Bernard made it into a different dumb joke.
Anyway, they go to Double Slash, and Balfu immediately clocks the gang as Persona users. He says, "You people have just become Persona users. You don't know how to use your chi. It's obvious."
Yo, I hate when I get immediately clocked.
Mm-hmm. As not knowing how to use your chi.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing else that Maddie or I would be instantly clocked with.
I actually don't give a shit about it, but I feel like I have to say it stereotypically.
Yeah, no.
The UI introduces Balfu as Balfu. He is a tap buster and has a web page that collects all the city's rumors. He says he's from Taiwan. I have intuited that tap buster probably means that he wiretaps people because that seems to be a thing he does, but I've never heard this term before.
It's a very, very strange term. I thought he was some kind of bartender.
He's the opposite of a plumber. Balfu takes the gang to a bar to talk. After they tell Balfu all they know, he tells them that the Joker rumors stem from some TV show, but before that, practically no one knew about him. The exception is Tatsuzo Sudo, the current foreign minister. We might remember that Sudo was the last name of Tatsuya Sudo, aka King Leo.
Arson Man.
Did you remember that? Because I sure didn't.
I remembered that. I was like, oh man.
I remembered it so late. I remembered it when he actually physically showed up.
Oh yeah, I did be like, oh, it's that guy, but I did not remember in the sense Bernard is saying, so good job, Bernard. I guess you're just smart.
I was a flunky, but all of a sudden I got smart.
That's right.
Balfi says Sudo has been up to some seedy stuff. In fact, quote, "That 10-year unsolved serial arson murder case. It's an infamous rumor between police and investigators that it was his son." Balfi says he's joining the gang to get closer to the truth. First, they need to determine if Sudo truly is involved with the Joker case. But Balfu wants to test something first. He calls Todoroki and asks him to spread a rumor that this bar sells weapons. Todoroki must work fast because the bar immediately starts selling weapons. There's a little fade out, then fade back in, and the bartender is just there with weapons. And
with a briefcase full of weapons.
Yeah, they didn't, leave and come back on another day.
You gotta wonder what this sequence of events looked like from an experiential perspective of anyone in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? It doesn't make sense, but as us viewing from a third-person bird's eye view, it's like, okay, next scene, now there's weapons, right? Like a stage play. But put yourself in the shoes of anyone in that room, and it's like, wait, what? I like to imagine it was more like, because of this rumor, they now always have been selling weapons. You know, the guy's just like, all right, well, buy your weapon. And everyone's like, okay, acting like nothing weird happened.
Mm-hmm. What I think about is Baofu placing the call, then like putting his phone down, and everyone just sits there for a bit. And he's like, and now we wait. And they just wait for who knows how long until the bartender comes over with a briefcase full of weapons.
That works too.
Anyway, Baofu is now convinced that rumors are becoming reality. He says to Maya, so what you gonna do with the emblem? If you keep it, the Joker will just stay away. You don't think you'll run into that deja vu brat anymore? Think of why he gave you that. In a simple but beautiful animated cutscene, Maya takes a lighter and burns her Sevens emblem.
It's very cool.
It is.
Cool artistic choice to take this scene that 100% could have been done without an FMV. Like, there was absolutely no technical necessity for there to be an FMV, you know? Because, you know, in some games, especially, like, more modern games, like games on, like, the PS2 or PS3, like, there's FMVs where it's like, most of this game has in-game graphics. Why is this FMV? It's like, oh, because the in-game engine can't do, like, a giant spaceship showing up and shooting people. You know, like, that. The engine can't handle that kind of thing. We gotta do an FMV for that. Meanwhile, anything with people talking is just in-game. This is like, yeah, I mean, it easily could have had a little bespoke animation of her burning a thing with a lighter or just use narration, but they're like, no, this is an important, like, plot. It's like kind of a meaningful plot moment here, so they did its due. I respect it.
Yes, I really like it. Baofu says Sudo's son should be in the Sanitarium on Mount Mifune, but he wants to take us somewhere called the Velvet Room first. Unlike in Innocent Sin, the Velvet Room is actually being introduced in the story. But you just go there and get a tutorial. But if you re-enter and talk to Katsuya and Ulala, they both reveal that they played the Persona game before. Maya and Ulala played it together back in high school, and Katsuya at some point played it with Totinos.
That's good to know.
On the road to the Sanitarium, the gang is stopped by a shady security guard who says there's been an accident and he can't let them pass. The gang heads through the forest to get there. Luckily, it's not a maze this time, though it is large and tricky to navigate. Also, the music is real good.
Yeah, it is. I liked it a lot.
The gang enters the sanitarium to find mangled corpses. Katsuya inspects them and finds they're armed and were killed by demons. Baofu says they're from the Taiwanese mafia and work for Sudo. Katsuya asks why they would attack the sanitarium where Sudo's son lives. Baofu's like, I don't fucking know. The gang finds a terrified nurse who says the patient in room 303, Tatsuya Sudo, summoned demons. When the gang arrives at room 303, they find it empty, but the walls are covered in crazed writings and drawings. It's a real, stereotypical, crazy person in a movie situation.
Yep, very much so.
Katsuya sees some photos on the wall of all the murder victims. So Tatsuya Sudo must be the old maid, a.k.a. Joker, a.k.a. King Leo, a.k.a. probably a few other things I forgot.
a.k.a.
Arson
Hitler?
Man.
No, not Hitler. A.k.a. whatever.
Arson Man, coming to Mega Man 13.
Was there a Mega Man 12?
No, there should have been.
No.
It would have been cool.
But
There
he's
was a
not
Mega
good enough
Man
to be a
11.
12.
They made 11 and it was dumb and everyone said it was bad.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't people not like Mega Man 11?
I didn't play it, but it looked like shit, so.
I thought it was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't played it.
9 and 10, though, yo, shout out to Mega Man 9 and 10. Great
Oh,
fucking games.
agreed. They're very good.
Mm-hmm. Maya is drawn to a poem written on the wall. It's titled The Oracle of Maya. It mentions a holy cross in the heavens. Katsuya wonders if that refers to the grand cross that happened this summer when the planets aligned. But, Ulala says, nothing happened. Maya collapses. Ulala asks if her chest is hurting again, and then explains to the others, after running into Deja Vu Boy, she got this mysterious bruise that nags her. He doesn't know how she got it. This seems bad. Maya insists she's okay, and Balfu says this room's vibes can't be trusted. Which is a great line.
Yeah.
It's very meme-worthy.
TFW, yes. The vibes are off.
Yeah.
She says the room is sus.
And he's correct. The vibes in this room are bad. The gang moves on. Eventually, they enter the director's office, where they find Tatsuya Sudo standing over more mangled corpses. He asks Maya if she's recalled the other side yet. Katsuya asks if Tatsuya was behind the murders now and 10 years ago, and he's like, lol, yeah. Balfu asks how he gained this power, and he says, sorry, my cat jumped on my desk and clicked the mute button. So let me. Oh my God, Susie.
Oh, hi, Susie. I miss you.
She's being really intrusive right now.
I miss Misty, my girlfriend's cat.
Oh.
I like cats.
Also, I miss the cat that Ham, who she's babysitting, who is a creature.
Mm-hmm.
I miss parentheses have not met in parentheses Max, my girlfriend's dog. He's kind of like Jack, but smaller.
Jack is pretty small.
Yeah, but he could be smaller.
I suppose so. Anyway, Balfu asks how he gained this power, and he says, Kotodama. You know. Kotodama. You know? You say something and it'll happen? The voices tell me anything. That poor excuse for a dad did this to me. Katsuya asks why Tatsuya's dad is after his life then, but a walkie-talkie on one of the bodies starts beeping. Tatsuya says it's from the guys outside. Balfu looks outside and recognizes a man with a scar. Balfu leaves without a word. Tatsuya answers the call and says their men are dead. He says, I'm free, you got that? I'm coming for you. Give that message to my fucking dad. Except when he says fucking, it's two number signs instead of the U and the C.
Yeah.
Because you can't say fucking on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah. Still a very good line.
It's really good.
Katsuya asks Tatsuya why he kills. Tatsuya says, I used to kill for pleasure, but now I only kill because people give me a call. My real purpose is to right the wrong. This side is wrong, and the other side is right. My fucking dad doesn't understand that. You understand, don't you? Let
Sudo say fuck.
Yes.
Well, what was it that Sweet Boy Ryuichi in Persona 5 would always say instead of fuck?
F.
Right, you know, be like F and whatever, and man, we got so annoyed. It's just just let him say fuck. It's fine. It's a great word.
And this is a spoiler, but in Persona 5 Strikers, there is a scene where he yells fuck at someone, and it's so cathartic.
Speaking of righting the wrongs, there we go.
I think he yells leave her the fuck alone or something, and it's great.
Oh, my boy, I love him. Oh, gosh, that's great. Maddie, when you said that, though, the initial thing, you gave me a, being hit with a train level flashback to the let Pearl say fuck thing from back in the day.
Let Pearl say fuck. It's 100%. Yeah, no. Look, there needs to be more cursing in media in general, frankly. Okay, I don't really care so much about movies. Movies have enough cursing. In games, I feel like something about games' rating systems or whatever, it's like, even your M-rated games, I don't know, no one ever, in real life, people generally either don't cuss or they cuss like a sailor.
Yeah.
And in games, all you ever have, even in like very well written games, like you usually just have these certain like tactically deployed curse words. And even if the game's like already M-rated, and like I don't know, man, people don't normally tactically deploy curse words. They just use them all the time. So it just comes off as very just like high school. I don't know, like I want this to. This is a serious scene. I want to make sure everyone knows how serious and edgy this scene is. I better throw a curse word in there. I did that when I was in junior high and writing little short stories, you know?
Yep.
Although it was like, damn, right? Because that was like super edgy to throw like a damn in there, right? But anyway, so whenever you have characters that just like, you know, say shit like, go fuck yourself, you know, or whatever, just like as like a normal thing to say, it really makes me happy, which is why Ryuigi was so almost there, right?
I really liked in Final Fantasy VII Remake how everyone cursed all the time.
I can't wait to play that.
It's so good, and like Aerith says shit. They don't say fuck because it's not rated M, but they say shit and asshole and stuff like that.
Is really, really good.
It is.
Like, I don't know, like in games, you always have, like, you know, in modern AAA games, characters are always talking to themselves constantly in a way that's really stupid and annoying. It's literally, like, one of my least favorite things about AAA games. Like, you know, you're going through a level and the characters by themselves and you grab, like, a key off the ground. They're like, a key. I better find out where to use this. You know, or they see a gap they can't cross. And they're like, I better go find a ladder. And it's like, it drives me crazy. It's one of my least favorite things about video games. Fucking stop doing that. Anyway, weirdly enough, what you don't have them doing is like, whenever you fall too far, having them just be like, God fucking damn it, shit. Fuck you, tree. You know, like, stupid goddamn branch that I tripped over, or like, we weirdly don't have that, that's all I'm saying. If you're going to have characters talking to themselves constantly, you could at least have them be cursing and being mad at random things that happen.
That is very fair. I will also say, because this subject just made me think about it, my biggest this character should curse is from a video game is absolutely let Maya Fey say fuck. Maya Fey should be given access to swear words because she would utilize them wonderfully and terribly.
She'd be so good.
Yes.
Also, just Ace Attorney characters in general. Why the fuck can't people swear in that series?
Mm-hmm.
Especially since at least one of the recent ones was rated M.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah, I think it was Dual Destiny was specifically rated M, and they still didn't say fuck.
I don't remember that. Interesting.
Anyway, back to the game. Confronting serial killer boy.
Yes. So he tells them to meet him at the Sky Museum, which I'm assuming is the Aerospace Museum from the last game. And if this demon does not eat us. And so he sends a demon after us and disappears. So we have a boss fight. And I wish Balfu had been there because this boss fight is pretty hard.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Never mind, you go.
Okay. So after the fight, the gang finds Balfu and asks him what the fuck. He doesn't say anything. Katsuya calls in a report on what happened here and says they should head to the Aerospace Museum. And this is where we're stopping for the week because I played late.
Yep, that's it.
I didn't get around to playing.
The week I've had, this works fine.
I actually played ahead. I played as much as I thought we were supposed to. And not a whole lot. And in the spirit of never, not being ahead, I won't say anything about what happens next. But really fun, really, really good. Not like, oh my god, crazy, but like it's good shit. I'm really excited to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about our memorable moments.
funny enough, my only memorable moments were one that you already covered and one that's from what we'll talk about next week.
Nice. Yeah, I weaved some memorable moments into it because they just...
Yeah, that's what you get to do.
They say funny stuff.
I did still... I took a lot of screenshots of graphics, but, you know, a lot of the graphics aren't something you can express why it's so good. You know, it's like, yeah, no, without
the pixel art's lovely.
Yeah, without the visual aspect, you know, if this was if we were doing a YouTube video, I would be like, we need to take a moment to look at these graphics. But in audio form, you know, this game, it's not like it's super out there crazy visually. It's all pretty normal stuff. So it's all just the subtleties, right? But man, there's just some really good stuff. I love the texturing, on a lot of the 3D stuff. It's just really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I have a few that haven't been covered. First of all, because I guess this is just my thing forever, and it's I've been cursed for my hubris in this. The trans woman from the last game is back. Because
I encountered her, and I was like, I bet Trish was gonna run into this without looking for it.
I actually did look for her as well, but obviously this is here. You've claimed this as your what's the word? Your domain.
Yeah. So
fiefdom, that's the word.
Yeah, fiefdom. Let's go with that.
That's
guess
a word.
My accidental
there are lots
fiefdom.
of words you could use there,
okay,
but fiefdom sure is one of them.
It is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
In like progressive activism spaces, and I say that with the most derision I can manage. A lot of the time, people will kind of set themselves up as like, no, I'm the one who gets to speak on this issue, and I'll sort of defend it with my life, you know? And a lot of the time, discourse is really just about like petty territory squabbling. So that's where the word fiefdom would be used. Now, I'm not saying that's what Trisha's doing here, of course. I'm being sarcastic and doing a little jokey bit. But you are now the official voice of this topic, and if any of us try to speak on it, we should get canceled on the internet. I think for not staying in our lane.
All right, then. Yeah. So immediate difference. I mean, it's basically the same sprite as last game, but she went from being a woman ? To a woman ?
Hey, that's good. Maybe.
And her only line is, "What? Is something wrong with me wearing women's clothes? I'm a woman. WOMAN. Male otherwise, but my heart is female." Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give this game credit, really, because of it being Persona, and it's wasted any credit I could give it. But, in this one specific issue. But I did reach out to one of my girlfriends who is very plugged into queer history. I'm not going to go into everything we heard talked about regarding this, but basically the idea that if you talk to kind of trans elders from the 90s, around when this was written, I am male, but I have the spirit of a woman. I have the heart of a woman.
That was totally the thing back in the day, which to me seems so cringe.
It was specifically seen as the way to talk to cis people about it. To make them understand what you're talking about. Not as much how they saw themselves. Of course, I'm sure that was the case with some people. But was specifically like, this is how we talk to outsiders about it.
Yeah, this is how we dumb it down so the doofuses and the goofuses and gallants out there will understand it.
Yes. Other kind of thing, I think new party member Baofu is pretty cool. We don't know a lot about him yet, but his design is really interesting.
I meant to ask when Baofu showed up, how would y'all describe his design? Because it's interesting.
He is from a fucking cyberpunk story.
I will say, when he first showed up, I did literally say out loud, "New type of guy just dropped." And that's all I'll say. He's certainly a type of guy.
Yeah, he's very unique. But I like the flavor he adds in the sense, again, I talked about this a little bit last week. This game is really immediately, while it is tying itself in story to the first game, it is also very much changing the tone in a deliberate way.
Big agree.
Part of which is just having a cast of adults instead of mostly teenagers, but also the styles of the characters, their art styles, the way they talk is much more adult. Obviously, there's all the murder. Just like there's just this feeling of like, oh, this is not a high school story anymore. This is an adult's story.
Yeah, to me, and this is going to sound very counterintuitive because it's literally the opposite. But so like, what's cool about this is that from a plot perspective, all that happened was the shit that happened in the previous game got reset. Time got rewound. It never happened. We made it up, right? So technically, this should be like pretty similar but different, right? That's what you would expect narratively. Nothing happened to like fundamentally change the world in some huge way, and yet the game's focus is so it's like is the vibe so different because of the world changing from magical lore shit? Well, no, the game is more just focusing on a different side of reality, I guess, but like presumably these characters all existed in the previous timeline, right? But anyway, no, it feels like something is shifted in like, I don't know, the vibe of the universe. Something's off, something's broken, and it's kind of released almost a truer reality. Like it really does feel like the previous game was a fiction, was a fantasy, was a video game, and this feels more like the real world, which is funny because it is the opposite, as we heard from what's his butt earlier.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the opposite. This is a different world. I would say more true or real than the other in universe feels like a distinction that you would be subjectively making rather than an objective thing.
That's true. Although a few different NPCs and characters have said something like this world is somehow like a different shadow world and not the real one. Like we've got knocked because of what happened in the last game. The timeline's been like knocked off sort of orthogonally. So that's I feel like the game is trying to say that because of how I've seen that line a couple times. Although you're totally right that isn't necessarily
I feel like it's mostly the villains saying that, isn't it though?
True. Although I don't know. I feel like sometimes you get a lot. That's a good point. That's a good way. That's just the vibe I was getting, right? But yeah, regardless of what the game may or may not be actually saying, I feel like the vibe is that it's the opposite. Yeah, it's like the mask has come off, the veil has been pulled down, and this is sort of a truer, fuller, much more deeply fucked up situation now that sort of the fetters of the simplistic narrative, which feels funny to call it simplistic, but the fetters of the relatively straightforward reality have been taken off. I don't know that's all that it is completely subjective vibe based stuff. I'm not basing that like I'm not going to point at lines of dialogue that we feel that way. It's just the vibe, but it is a very very strong one.
Oh, definitely. We went from a urban fantasy to dark urban, like this is almost urban horror fantasy or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, like every PC we've had so far are all characters in the first game. You can run into them, or in some cases you have to run into them for the story, even if they're only there for very brief points. I think ultimately, more than the world changing, I think what's just changed is we're no longer seeing this world through the perspective of a teenage boy. We're seeing it from the perspective of an adult investigative reporter.
For sure. Yeah,
that is going to change our perspective.
It's like this world was there all along. We just didn't see it. We were seeing a constrained, reductive version of reality before.
Yeah. My only other memorable moment, kind of note, is that moment when it's like, and we talked about it, it was covered in the synopsis, but just the Maya burning the emblem, choosing to forego the safety it has created for her so she can continue to truly be able to investigate this crime is so fucking cool. Like, I don't know why, like, just her just pulling out a lighter and doing that. It's a fun, cool moment that also feels very Maya from the first game. Like, yes, she's now our silent protagonist, but that still feels like, yeah, that's still her.
Yeah, we talked about how there was a lot of, characterization of Totino's in the first game, even though he was a silent protagonist. But we're like 2.5 hours into this game, and I feel like we've already gotten more silent protagonist characterization than was in Innocent Sin because of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good scene. It's executed well, but just the concept of it is something I really can crunch on. The idea of not just if you're going to use Campbellian terms, an accepting of the call, but a level of accepting the call of I could just leave. I have every reason to just be safe and not be involved in this further. But fuck that. I am going to destroy the thing that keeps me safe so I can continue delving into this grime and muck.
And that's what really gives it that through the looking glass feel to it. It's like, yeah, you're not like, you didn't physically go anywhere new. Your old world's still there, but it's like, like once that new world presents itself, you, on one hand, she's making a very bold choice. On the other hand, she couldn't not make it. Like once you've seen, and I mean that, and I don't mean that to discount the importance of her choice. I'm saying that I think it's both are true. And it's like, once you've seen what's really going on, there's really no other choice. So you make a choice that isn't a choice. And it's cool that she symbolizes it in the sense of like, you're committing to it by forcing yourself in an external way to commit to it. It's like I've always, maybe this is a very weird metaphor, but it's like, well, I don't know. Like, have you ever asked someone to keep you accountable to do something? Like, you really want to do something, like, I don't know, learn Japanese or whatever. And instead of you just saying, I'm going to try really hard to do it, you ask your friend or your parent or your loved one to be like, can you get on my ass constantly to do this? So you're making it, you yourself are causing something external to happen. That way that external thing can then force you to do something, because sometimes it's easier to do something if someone else is making you do it, right? So she's intentionally putting herself in a situation where she is forced to act in a certain way, which is cool.
Yeah. Also, I'm just now thinking about this. There's also the level, and I don't know how much this is a reach, but it feels like Fire has really specifically started to represent something thematically and metaphorically in this game, the way it's been built up. I mean, just the fact that this is a thing keeping her safe from Suo, who is an arsonist, who in the previous timeline got horribly burned and also set a bunch of fire bombs.
Oh, well, when you put it that way,
it up with fire.
I didn't think about that at all.
I didn't think about that at all. That literally just occurred to me. But yeah, but she is burning the thing that keeps her safe from a man symbolized by fire.
Yep.
You said it was Suo who was the arsonist, but it's Sudo who's the arsonist. I don't know how anyone could possibly make such a ridiculous mistake.
You're right. All of my analysis is now incorrect. I have to withdraw everything.
At least there aren't two characters named Tatsuya. Because we have Tatsuya.
One of them is Totino's.
Yeah, we have Totino's.
You know, it actually, Fire is a very easy and obvious and I think correct metaphor in that sense, because if I'm picking up what you're putting down, it's like fire is chaotic. You can't control it. I mean, I know you can control it. Some people do, but it's very difficult to, right? So that's why that's why we have the phrase "playing with fire," right? Like, if you want to murder somebody or destroy something, fire's by far the way that is the riskiest way to do it. It's the way that's most likely to go out of control. It's the way that's most likely to hurt the person who's wielding it, right? As opposed to like a sword, right, or something like that, or punching, right? So by committing yourself to the use of fire, you're basically committing yourself to live in a certain world that you did not have to otherwise.
Yeah. Also, it kind of it further tightens the connection between our new Joker and Maya, who in the original timeline, he was specifically blaming her for his burns, and it's just like further like tying of these two characters together in a way that I think is really fascinating. I really want to know what the fuck's going to happen with this guy. Because honestly, last game, he was built up a lot, and then he just kind of fucking died.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really surprised that we found out who Joker was.
Mm-hmm.
True.
I love when a story like builds up a big mystery and then just tells you the answer without way before you would expect.
Oh, absolutely agreed.
To me, it always gives the narrative, and that's one reason why this narrative feels like it's so intense right off the bat, because that's actually a very easy trick to lead to a sense of escalation. Because, yeah, whenever you set up a mystery, typical narrative structure says that you'll find the mystery out at, I don't know, the third act or something. Like, you
Or
set
the
up the mystery.
denouement.
Yeah, like, it'll be a big thing that starts the whole game. But by revealing it so early, it feels like you've already moved on to something deeper and more important than what you were at before, right? Anytime an arc concludes faster than you thought, because it's basically the pace at which new things are happening. Yeah, it's just accelerating, and that's very cool. It's like, oh, this wasn't the real mystery. That this was just like a little taster. Oh wow! So whatever's coming next is going to obviously be bigger, right? And obviously you know it's going to be a long RPG, so you're in your head almost thinking like, wait, if we're already at this point, oh god, where's this going to end, right? Which is always really fun.
Oh, absolutely. It's also it is easy to write a story where the audience and or the characters have less information, don't have enough clues, don't have enough information to really know what's going on. Because as a writer, it means you can pull things out of thin air a lot easier.
Exactly.
Where when you give both the audience and the characters the same enough information to give the answer to the mystery, then that means you as a writer have just shown your hand a little bit. Mm-hmm. You've given up some of your mystique, and that it puts you in a corner a little bit, but in a way that if you can pull it off, really works.
Yeah. The more you show your hand, the more impressive it is when you pull it off, 100%. And you know the best writers of this kind of like a mysterious narrative, a narrative with twists and turns and discovery to be made. The best writers are able to do it with all the cards just very clearly on the table right in front of you, right in front of your fucking face. There's a couple of examples of that. Like we've mentioned Danganronpa 3 as one of those, right?
Yeah.
They hide their cards sometimes, but most of the time it's like
Danganronpa V3, because Danganronpa 3 is a different thing.
Danganronpa 3 is an anime. Danganronpa V3 is
not very good.
No. It has parts I like, but also it ruins part of the narrative.
The future arc is just useless and stupid, and I don't like it.
I'm never going to bother watching it because I don't care. But I'm glad that it's
V3 is my favorite Danganronpa game, though, and I love it with all of my heart.
It does have Junko saying Yas Queen, which is pretty great.
It is pretty good.
Yeah, but then I really hate the anime voice for Monokuma.
Oh my god, it's terrible. I was so confused when that happened.
Also, I understand why just because dubbing, you need to try to match lip flaps and everything, but using super ultimate high school level instead of ultimate, it just sounds rough and I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anyway.
This is not a Danganronpa podcast.
What were you saying?
I did want to say in regards to what Maddie was saying about the masterful way of examples of people showing their hands a little bit early. And then I think this can work both. The characters don't have to know. The player/the audience knowing is what gets the trick it's worth. And because we were talking about it before podcast a little bit, and because I feel I have a deep need to plug it whenever I can, Stormlight Archive is a wonderful high fantasy series that literally starts off in the first chapter giving you some huge information that, if you think it through and put it together quickly enough, gives you a huge leg up on every single character in the story.
Right.
And gives you a context to what's happening that they do not have. Which is a really fun, interesting way of starting off a series.
Well, and also it leads to dramatic irony, right? Because you're like, oh god, they don't know the thing. Oh god, I, the reader, have already figured out the twist, but they don't. And this sucks because of the irony that I'm seeing about the character clearly making bad decisions or whatever. Good shit.
Very good shit. Yeah, I'm really enjoying Eternal Punishment so far. With the exception of, wow, this is a rough translation, but also the rough translation can be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited to see where this goes from here. I'm so excited to see what they do with Joker. I have a feeling that in this case, this Joker is going to be what's the good word for it? The kind of character that gets killed off in the first act as a setup for bigger enemies. I hope that's not the case, but if it's done well, they'll be fine.
We'll see. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I'm really enjoying this. The rough translation does lead to some really fun lines, though I will probably replay this game when the English fan translation comes out for the PSP version. Especially because the PSP version has like a new story content, I believe.
Nice. I will say also, I heard that this game was a lot tougher than the previous one. I guess it is in the sense that it feels like a video game. But so far it's fine.
But so far, we're still really early.
It's no Persona 3, but you're right. It could get whammo early later on. I'm actually really enjoying it. You gotta think, you gotta pay attention, but you don't really have a lot of trouble. It's a nice little balance that you don't normally get from this franchise.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they want to say about Persona 2 Eternal Punishment?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to RPG Book Club. We are able to do this because of your support. And on our Ko-Fi, which you can find at rpgbook.club, you can support us at different tiers. The $1 tier is the Gadabout tier. It gets you a special colored name in the Discord. It lets you vote on our next game. It lets you listen to Book Club no Kaseki a month before everyone else. And if you give $5, that's our Warrior tier, and we will read out your screen name or your real name at the end. I usually don't do this. It's usually Sam. I'm winging it here. We'll read out your name at the end of the episode, and we have some new supporters this week, so I cannot just put in Sam doing the sign off. I have to do it myself. So big thanks to our warriors: Aaron524, Anthony A. Lerma, Vimke, Jfro Prime, Eli Bergamos, Doho, and Tuxedo Ken. And this month we have 2 luminaries. We have Cerebral Wind, who is doing a D&D 5th edition custom content. You can check them out at ko-fi.com/cwhomebrew. And our other luminary, which I didn't say, the $20 tier is luminary, where we read your name and give you a shout out of whatever you want. I'm sorry, I don't usually do this. Sam will be back soon, and we'll be
You're
better.
doing great.
Okay. Anyway, and our other luminary is Carr, who wants to let you know to brush your teeth twice a day, especially before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I've been David Bernard Houck.
I'm Maddie Grace.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo.
I was born
Bye.
stupid, but then I suddenly became smart.